This is part of a book called Not My Idea, in which grade school children are shown the whiteness contract with a white hand reaching out and a devil tail and goat's feet. I think this is wrong. To teach children that white people are inherently evil, inherently oppressors, or inherently racist, that all white people are racist. And this is what woke typically means when we criticize it. I think we should tell people that some people are good, some people are bad, and race is not relevant to whether or not someone will be a good or bad person. You've got to find out who they are within. Would you agree?
Milquetoast-centrist Tim.
Well, the problem is
white people are bad. Just get on the fucking train.
Right. And bring up that's a great example to bring up. I think actually, I'm trying to remember, I don't remember what district it is. The school district's actually being sued rightfully that had that book.
I mean, it's just so evil, isn't it?
I know.
Yeah. So here's white people as Satan.
There's a bunch of white kids, and they're like, it's like, say no to whiteness, white kids. It's like, oh my God.
Jesus.
Well, they're teaching kids in school. Dude, we can see your pointy tail. Contract binding you to whiteness. You get stolen land, stolen riches, special favors. Whiteness gets to mess endlessly with the lives of your friends, neighbors, loved ones, and fellow humans of color. Sign below for the purpose of profit. Land, riches, and favors may be revoked at any time for any reason.
Profit.
Showing a white hand reaching out with a whiteness contract and a devil's tail, I think, is particularly dangerous to be teaching children.
Okay, but now, so that's called critical race theory by your definition, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but there are also people who are calling critical race theory teaching the transparent history. Okay, people banning books. Not talking about.
These are the books being banned.
Those are not the only books being banned, right? They're talking about banning books on Rosa Parks' biography out of schools. Not talking about.
This is so funny because this conversation really hits me on a personal level because this, it's so funny. This is like me talking to my dad.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm like, oh, CRT is this. And he's like, no, CRT is about, just not making sure we're talking about slaves in history. I'm like, oh no. And then I had to go through an hour-long conversation where I have to be like, no, that's not what's happening. So I guess I'm more sympathetic to the normie position because of that.
Where the fuck has a biography of Rosa Parks been banned?
Yeah, I can't imagine.
So I actually looked into this.
Really?
I wish that someone on Tim's show would have looked into this. So basically what happened was, let me look at my notes. What state was this?
Mississippi, Alabama.
No, it's not what you think.
Yeah,
it was banned because she used a bad word?
No, I don't know. I don't have the state down. But anyway, oh no, it was in Pennsylvania. Okay. So basically what happened was after George Floyd happened, Pennsylvania school districts or I don't know if it was the whole state or one school district, implemented they want to have anti-racist resources available to children. I don't know if that means they were teaching it in class or they just want to have them in the library or something. And so they had all these anti-racist books that were implemented under this program. And some parents complained about some of the books, and none of the articles I found said what book specifically. But when the parents complained about some of the books, the school district in government fashion said, okay, we'll freeze every book that was put under this program. We're going to just pull them all temporarily and go through them.
To sort it out
and figure out which are the good books and which are the books that people complain about, essentially.
And then the New York Times reported it.
Yeah,
exactly. Daryl Davis got the impression that they were banning teaching about
exactly
Yep.
because since they just pulled all of the books, some of the books are children's books on Rosa Parks and children's books on Martin Luther King Jr. and all this stuff. And so an article was written by the local paper, which got picked up by New York Times and Washington Post, which very dishonestly frames it like, oh, they're banning these books, which is not true at all. So, though there is the criticism that could be levied at the school district was the article that came out was a year later. So a year had gone by and they still never finished this fucking book review. So if you want to say that they're being slow or whatever, fine. But to call it a book ban on Rosa Parks is very dishonest framing.
Right.
Do we know what Jesse Lee Peterson's opinion of Rosa Parks is?
I'm curious. Do you know?
I really want to know.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely
interested. Is it unfair for me to say it's probably Uncle Ruckus's opinion of Rosa Parks?
It's probably hilarious is what it is.
slavery, not talking about, oppression and things like that. They're calling that critical race theory as well.
But hold on.
Uh-huh.
The challenge with this is I'm not familiar with a book on Rosa Parks being banned. And in the experience that we've all had here, and probably most of our listeners, when recently Florida banned math books, the left came out, woke people, and said, see, now they're banning math.
No
the issue
maths.
was they were banning the math I explained to you, where the math problem isn't a math question. It says how many people are racist, blah, blah, blah. So Florida said, we don't want ideological praxis in our math books. We want math problems. So when we hear that they're banning books, it's a question of which books, why. Well, what we did was we had several experts on who brought the books to us and showed us this is the easiest and most notable example, saying whiteness is the devil.
Do you remember about 4 years ago, the state of Texas changed all the public school books? They removed the word slave and slavery and changed it to immigrant worker.
That would be bad. At the same time, the New York Times removed the word
Texas.
slave from their game.
So I know the truth about this one. He's wrong about this one too.
Okay. Oh my God.
But before I go into like how it's wrong, Tim's reaction is very. You would like it, Adam, because it's pure whataboutism.
Oh no. Oh no.
And slavery and changed it to immigrant worker.
That would be bad. At the same time, the New York Times removed the word slave from their game Wordle because it was offensive. So I think
No, that's not whataboutism necessarily. He does accept that would be bad.
He says it's bad, but then he's like, well, but what about this?
Well, no, what he's doing there is saying, well, there's more than one reason to remove the word slave, right? Because the implication from Daryl Davis is they did it because, I don't know, they're pro-slavery or something.
Right, but obviously from the textbook perspective, it would be a different reason than the New York Times Wordle perspective.
Well, yeah,
Right.
but it could have, but it could have been some fucking, Austin teacher who's a Democrat who's like, right, we're getting rid of the word slave because it's oppressing black people. Like,
It could have been, but it wasn't.
They were.
Well,
they,
I'm not. Yeah, but they don't know, or Tim doesn't know, and
Right.
that is actually a plausible explanation of why that might have been done. So it's not, because Daryl's implying
they
that
didn't
the
want to
Texans are
trigger
basically a bunch
white
of
people.
racists.
The only
Well-
reason they would change it is they don't want to trigger white people.
Maybe, but it could also be that there's a wokeist.
Well, the issue, I understand why you're saying that, but the issue is that with the Texas school district, there's like a history of them
tell
doing
us.
shenanigans.
Tell us what the
show
shenanigans
race.
were. Fill us in.
Well, so like the big thing, and this is kind of where the confusion coming. Well, the big thing was, Texas for a long time tried to prevent evolution from being taught in school and trying to shove creationism into
intelligent
school books.
design, all that stuff.
Right. And since it's such a large state and they get so many textbooks, they had kind of sway over
Right.
the rest of the country's, education and stuff in that manner. So, but what Daryl's confusing two different things, which is that in 2010, there was someone on the Texas school board who did propose that they change the name from slave trade to transatlantic trade.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of outrage against that, so that never came to pass.
Right.
So he's conflating that with also in 2015, there was a woman who took a picture of it was a diagram of the slave ships that you've probably seen in your history textbook, at least that I saw, which shows like how fucking horrible it was, where they basically forced all the African slaves to lay down in the belly of the ship and like shoved in as many fucking people as possible in these horrible conditions.
Mhm.
And in that diagram, it said something like
Immigrant worker.
immigrant worker.
She basically made a meme, and that's what this is being.
Right. And so
traced back
she
to.
comes out and says, hey, in Texas, they're saying that slaves are workers. And then of course she puts this whole woke narrative on it, whatever, and all the newspapers pick it up. Okay.
Right.
That's not what happened. Because if you actually read what the thing that she posted said, it says, quote, the Atlantic slave trade, so it says slave trade in the sentence, between the 1500s and 1800s brought millions of workers from Africa to the southern United States to work on agricultural plantations.
Right. So she is a slave.
Well, and if you look through the rest of the book, it refers to black slaves as slaves. It was just that one diagram, it used that word worker.
Right.
for whatever reason. Maybe they just don't want to say the word slave twice, so close to themselves or something. I don't know. So it was kind of a big to-do about nothing, and it wasn't the school district deciding anything. It was just this one textbook had this word in it.
Right.
So
Not
anyway,
so bad, but
look it up.
Daryl Davis picked it up along the way, and now he thinks all of Texas wants to call slaves immigrant workers.
Yeah. Well, that was a common if you look up this incident, that's kind of a common conflation that people had. I noticed when I was reading the comments of news articles.
Right.
So
yeah, no, they pick up an they pick up a new NPC talking point and they just go to town with it.
Yeah.